Jason Walker here, Walker Tea Review, where we are looking at 7Cups.LiuAnGuaPian, which is a type of green tea that we're going to be looking at today. A little bit of information that we'll be sharing with you about this tea as we're getting it going along. What you're going to see is I'm giving a little bit less than about a tablespoon, because I like my teas stout, pretty strong. It allows more flavors to come out. It also gives it a more brilliant color. So I'm going to set this aside. I will come back and put some out for us to look at. My water that I'm using, because I'm using a smaller vessel, and I do have water that is not boiling. It's below the boiling point, but it is warm, warmer than you would use for a white. You know what? I am going to rinse again very quickly and briefly. Rinsing tends to bring out flavors because it kind of awakens a lot of teas. So it's always nice to have a tea tray like we have here as well, because you can get some splashes and splashes as you go along. So it's nice to have a place that's going to catch that and control all the water that you've got. So as we're waiting for this to steep for a few seconds, let's go ahead and take a few leaves out as well, sharing a little bit of information about this leaf. Before we zoom in and really talk about the leaf, I should give you a more formal, proper introduction here. We do have 7 Cups 2008 organic green tea. This is a 10-gram sample here. Serving or preparation suggestions: 12 ounces, a 12-ounce pot, 1 tablespoon of tea, 180 degrees Fahrenheit for your water temperature. Information from their website, basically the same, that they range from 1 tablespoon to 3/4 tablespoon. You could use a little bit less. A steep time suggested online, again, of 1.5 minutes, minute and a half, where you will find 25 grams on sale for $15.50. So this tea is from Anhui province. It is harvested around April. Okay, so we've had, I'm going to let that go just a little bit longer. Let's go ahead and zoom in on our leaf and look at our leaf. Guapian means melon seed, which is one way to translate and explain. And what you often see are the characteristics of this tea: sections of the leaf, not necessarily a full leaf, and sections that are roughly the same or similar size. They have been pressed or folded on the sides, as you see here, or in some cases, an example of this one, they're rolled from one edge to the other, kind of like a scroll, or roll up a tube of paper. And that's what we have with some of these here. Colors you see are more olive green. So that gives us a general introduction of shapes of Guapian in general, but how this one looks in particular, so that you can see the processes that went into that. I am now going to serve our tea so that we can look at this and talk about it in just a moment. Yeah. Okay. We'll set that aside. Some things we want to note. I'm going to let that cool off for just a second. But some things that we want to note. When I was smelling, I looked at the wrong one. But when I smelled this, and when I smelled it in the bag previously, I had notes of a kind of a sweet type of spinach. So these are the smells that you associate with this bright, rich green colored dry leaf. Okay. What we want to look at also, of course, is what we have. When you have a small serving like this, when you put in about a teaspoon of tea and you steep it for what we did between 1.5 and 2.5 minutes, you will have a cup that is a greenish yellow. I like the brilliance of this. This has a clear, sharp color to it, which indicates a vibrant cup that we have in front of us. So, I'm going to give this a taste. See, did the spinach taste come into our cup, or are we getting some other things? Now, the thing that I just thought about, you notice that we're using a stemless wine glass, and some reasons why we do that. One, because it allows us to let the light come through so that you see the colors as they are. But the other thing, we're letting the teas really swirl around, interact with the air, and so that releases more flavor. Then as I drink as well, you will also hear me making slurping sounds, which is drawing more air in so that I can release as much aroma as I can. You splash around as well so that every taste bud can get a sense of what that tea is and how they're going to react to it. Things that I noticed about this, what we have here from 7 Cups, I did get from this tasting and from previous tastings, I had a sense of there's a bit of a toasted bread that comes about from the way this is processed, likely from the way that it's fired at the end of the process. Toasted sourdough type bread, which was a welcome scent and welcome fragrance. Other things, I actually caught a little bit of a kind of chamomile, especially as the tea cooled slightly. It brought out this kind of chamomile aroma as well, which was also a nice thing to see. Other things, as I said, the body is quite light. This is not as for example, a dragon well that is steeped for a longer period can release quite a bit of bitterness. This one is further away on the further down the less bitter end of the spectrum. Not a lot of bitterness here to offer. Aftertaste is quite smooth, also light. So when you look at this tea, it's a welcome and could be a good introduction if you are afraid of the bitterness of some green teas. This would be a good place to start, because it's not going to give you that kind of astringent feeling in the back of your mouth. It's going to be difficult to bring out a bitter sense to it, and yet you're going to get some good. If it's too weak or too low quality of a tea, it's going to be not bitter, not astringent, and lacking flavor. But this, because it is a better quality tea, you're going to get flavor without that bitterness and without that astringency. So, putting all this together, we do have a nice looking leaf, good color, consistent shapes with what we would expect. Our cup here, our liquid, yes, we did have some good aromas. I have tasted some LiuAnGuaPians from others or in past tastings that had a little bit longer of an aftertaste, which we could look for next time. I had some that had a bit of a fuller body, had a little bit more of a brothy sense that really washed over the whole mouth. So, having said all this, we're pulling this tea, we're giving it a 90. It is an organic, it is a good price with 25 grams at $15.50. This is 7 Cups LiuAnGuaPian, and I'm Jason Walker, Walker Tea Review.